Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to Hutcast. Hutcast is a pragmatic approach to several things that happen in life and happen around us. So tune in, check us out. If you like us, give us a thumbs up to Hutcast. Okay, new year, new show, new ideas. Today's episode is going to be about stabilizing braces, the withdrawal from the ATF. Then, a reprise from the student loan podcast we did at the end of last year's episodes. We actually have a call-in person who has given their time and effort to have a conversation about it. Stick around, show's going to be awesome today, and let's get started. Conversation topic number one is going to be about the AR-15 or any type of weapon that has a tack brace. A SIG tack brace is one of them, the X14, any type of tack brace, a stabilizing device attached to the back of the weapon so you can use a longer rifle with a shorter barrel, call it a pistol, and use it to control your weapon. Well, earlier this week, we got an email notice from the ATF. Now, if some people do know me and don't know me, I'm kind of a 2A guy, and 2A is Second Amendment. Now, this email, which surprises me because we're under the new regime of a Democratic president. Usually those guys are all for imposing all kinds of rules and regs on things like this. So the ATF, in an email directly to me, says, the ATF is withdrawing, pending further Department of Justice review. So what they did was they took this letter, this recommendation. They wanted to go out and say, okay, we want to know what this tack brace is for classifying anything with a stabilizer brace, which was published in December of 2020. So December to now. The notice informed and invited comment from the industry and public on a proposed guidance prior to issuing final guidance on the document. They wanted everybody out in the world to say, what does this mean in the industry? What does this tack brace do? What's its main function? Well, originally, the stabilizing brace, i.e. tack brace, was designed for people who had disabled in some way. They were limited in some way where they couldn't hold on both hands to this type of weapon or a weapon. And the brace itself was designed to strap around your arm or strap between your arms or strap some way that limits you from holding a firearm. Now, if you've never used a tack brace, it's quite a piece of equipment. Let's use, for instance, the dreaded AR-15. AR is Armor Light Rifle, 15th version, AR-15 or M16 or any type of device or type of weapon that resembles the big black scary gun. And again, guns don't kill people. People kill people. So this device was designed to hold it steady so you could control this and have muzzle control and not kill everybody around you. And it actually went out and got into the hands of guys who realized that you could make a tack brace feel like the butt of a gun and use a pistol, i.e. it's classified as a pistol now with a short barrel rifle. Anything below 18 inches is considered a pistol. But it's registered as a rifle. Even though it uses the same AR platform, the same AR gas, the same AR lowers, uppers, it's pretty much a short barrel rifle. But in today's world, if you have a short barrel rifle, you have to have what's known as an ATF stamp, an SOT, a special excise tax, so that you can get registered and you can have all these cool toys that someone don't want you to have, but they don't mind you having as long as they can tax you on it. Now, I've been doing this a while, and I see this notice come through in my email. Why were they asking the public? Why was the ATF saying, hey, what do you think about this? Well, they didn't ask when they put the restrictions on it. Now Magically Delicious, they want to come out and say, hey, we should ask the industry. So for me to even see this kind of email come out and say, so, we're going to withdraw now. pending further Department Justice review. Now, again, this is published in December of 2020, and then we just got the email the other day. And today is 1/1/21. So here's this email. Right out of the blue. Here it is. We're going to say we're not doing this. Okay. Oh, wow. I guess I don't understand why they would even ask the public. Why would they ask the industry? I mean, kudos for them, because we're all going to say the same thing. We're going to say it's a tack brace. It's what you use to maintain and control your weapon so you don't shoot the guy next to you, or the guy down the street, or the guy in the air, or wherever that other guy is. Because collateral damage is huge when you have a rifle round and a pistol. I mean, this is no game. This is the real deal. You start playing with those kind of firepower, you get what you get. So you better doggone sure know what you're going to send before you send it. And the rule is, don't send it unless you know where it's going. And even then, there's always a wild card. So it also goes on in this email, again, which I got on 1/1/21. It says, the withdrawal of the guideline does not change any law, regulation, or legally binding requirement. Let's look at that sentence for just a second. The withdrawal of this guidance. Okay, so they're not saying they're imposing something. They just wanted to say, hey, we need your help. Does not change any law. Well, the law is still the law. And until we get something coming through on official FBI GOV letterhead, the law is still what the law reads. Any regulation or other legally binding requirement. Well, what's the requirement for a tack brace? You have to show the ability to need something like that so you can fire your weapon. So you just got to kind of think to yourself, okay, why go through this on the December 18th? And why now? Why say, hey, we should really relook at this? But, again, kudos to them for backing out and saying, we just don't have enough data. That's my opinion. They don't have enough data to say, we're going to do this. And nobody's going to chime in and say, well, we shouldn't do this. No Second Amendment guy, no 2A or no gun shop, no gun enthusiast is going to say, we should not do this. Well, or give them information to incriminate us gun guys. Because really, the ATF is not our enemy. The ATF is there in place to make sure that the guys who don't do this legally, and I'm all for this, the guys who don't follow the rules, the guys who the other half of the world complains about, oh, you can buy a gun at a gun show. I don't think so. When was the last time you went to a gun show? In the early days, yes, that was a thing, because most gun show operators, like Crocodile Productions, they're a group around here, and they're in the Minneapolis area, and they're a great group. I don't think they allow anybody in there that doesn't have an ATF license. And good for them, because why would they want that? Why would they want any of that legal mumbo crap? These guys, these gun show guys, who in the beginning did have an avenue to say, I can sell my personal guns any place I want to. But again, those are the people that couldn't do it legally, or didn't get the application, and didn't go through the mounds of paperwork to become an ATF FFL. FFL stands for Federal Firearms License. And again, if you know me, I'm kind of, like I said, that 2A thing is it's precious to me. It's dear to me, and it should be dear to you, because the 2A amendment isn't a hunting, hey, you can have the right to do this, and you can do this with your musket. Well, when they wrote the law, they had muskets. Luckily, we don't have to use a musket anymore to defend ourselves from tyranny. And again, I use these words lightly. I don't want to bring political too much into this show. Tyranny. What do you think of that? I don't know. I don't believe people should tell me what to do. And when someone says you should do something, that's kind of tyranny. Or we're going to do what we have to pinch you to do it. Don't pinch me. Don't infringe my rights. My 2A rights are there. I respect your First Amendment rights once you respect my Second Amendment rights. So I thought this would be a good conversation for popping off the new year, Season 2, Episode 1. And I thought, why not? Let's have a little conversation about this. I want to make sure and inform you guys what I see Not a lot of people are ATF guys. Not a lot of people have this access to these type of emails. And even though you can hunt them up, I mean, Google's pretty good. You can do a lot of Googling. But, unless someone brings them to your attention, you're just not going to go out there and say, hey, I want to look at ATF stuff today. I enjoy being an ATF FFL. I enjoy the fact that, you know what, I'm part of that. The people who buy and transfer guns with me are part of that. The people who don't, they're not part of it, but I hope they respect the fact that I do. Today's conversation about the ATF is a pretty real gig for me. And I thought I should get it out in the world. I think this is a win for the guys who make tack braces, stabilizing braces. Tack is tactical, and I don't know if this is a tactical function. Stabilizing braces itself is a pretty good deal. And I really like the fact that we don't have to go through all this paperwork to have a pistol that we can tack brace or stabilize brace to our arms. And if you've ever used one, it's pretty neat. I mean, it's very stable. But again, the recoil from a rifle round in a small weapon, pistol-sized, without that brace would be doggone impossible. So, in the infinite wisdom of the ATF, I thought, good move. I mean, you explored it. Okay, no, I don't know why they asked, but they did. And then they said, we're going to just back off of this. So there you have it. Tack brace. Stabilizing brace, however you want to label it, that's what it is. For home and workplace comfort, we here at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning have over 30 years of residential and commercial experience in replacing, repairing, and doing general maintenance on your heating and cooling equipment. Call the experts at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning. For all your indoor comfort needs, we are located in Coon Rapids and serve the entire Twin Cities area. Call one of our professional technicians today at 763-757-5040. That's Dependable Heating and Cooling. Again, 763-757-5040, Dependable Heating and Air. Do you, as a student who's racked up a number of debts, in the name of schooling, feel that society should, at this point, say, hey, you know what, we should not do this. We should take this and not charge her for it?
Well, number one, I think that the institutions that offer the schooling should not be charging as much. Therefore, not having that debt to be so high, considering the fact that when you get out of school, sometimes you're not making as much money as the projected rate will be.
But we're focusing on not on what your money's worth. What did you get for your money's worth? We're focusing on the concept, the actual idea of, do you believe that the rest of the world should pay for the debt you signed on for?
No.
Okay, so we've cleared that up. We've covered that up. Now, that was the premise of the whole episode prior. The people who want this are the same people who say debt forgiveness is all a part of this common share the wealth theory. Now, given that fact that you know that you just answered that completely accurately, and I agree with that, these same people think that you should pay, if you make 6 figures or more, or 7 figures more, you should get taxed heavier than the guy who makes $50,000 a year. Do you believe in that?
I do believe that you should get taxed.
No. Let me rephrase that. Do you believe if you make $300,000 a year, you should get taxed more because someone makes $50,000 a year and can't pay the tax?
Yeah, I do.
So the guy who makes $300,000 a year says, "Hey, I'm at a 8% rate, and now because we want to share the wealth, you should pay 9%? And you say that's okay?
The $300,000 guy should pay 9% as opposed to a lesser tax bracket?
Correct.
I do.
So when you make $300,000 and you pay an 8% rate, but now that you make $300,000, you're going to pay a 9 or 10% rate because you make more, and you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's part of being. I mean, that helps with the whole. That helps as a whole to do the public funding. I mean, is there a lot of things that I don't agree with the public funding? Yes.
Well, that ain't public funding. That's redistribution of wealth.
Which goes to public funding, which goes to the government that gives it to the people that don't work, that don't work, that don't work and don't contribute. That, you know. But that's going to happen regardless.
Well, why should it happen regardless?
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it should.
Wait a minute now. Hold on.
No matter what. Would I prefer that that I have a say in what my tax money goes to? Yes.
Okay, but they don't have a say in that.
No, I don't have a say in it.
No, nobody
does. Nobody does. Say in it.
Well, you do at voting time. You have a say in that. At the end of the year or at the end of an election cycle, you have that voting right.
Yes.
So, to recap this, in the beginning, you said this $300,000 guy should get taxed more than the $50,000 guy. Do you still stand by that statement?
Yeah.
What if you're the $300,000 guy?
I'd be okay with that.
You wouldn't be if you found out how much they're taking. But you have now taken your assets. You have leveraged yourself completely. You are in a situation where you got high school debt, and you have to pay that back. But you can't pay it back sooner because someone's taking more of your income. And you're okay with that. Now, this someone doesn't work. They sit on program assistance. They vote for a living. They don't work for a living like me and you do. How can you be okay with that?
Well, I'm not okay with that.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Well, we do have a choice. We have a choice every election cycle.
And I vote.
Yes, and everybody should vote. If you don't vote, you got no reason to bitch. You cannot bitch.
Exactly.
So now.
Exactly. That's why I vote.
We're talking basic economics of the $300,000 guy and the $50,000 guy. Now, you spent your time, effort, and money to go get this degree, correct?
Correct.
And if you took that $300,000 earnings and you now take 10% of his money, why should that person who makes $300,000 a year pay for the guy who's making only $50,000 and pay more of his money than the guy paying $50,000? Because he makes more?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say, but
there's a but.
I feel like it's a social responsibility. But that $300,000 guy isn't paying for the $50,000 guy. He's paying for the guy that's sitting on tush, not doing anything.
So why should he pay more?
Because he makes more.
Oh. But he risked more. Like you, he's got a ton of school debt up the yin-yang to try and make more. So the guy who doesn't make $50,000 a year, who's that's his salary cap, that's where he's going to live. But the $300,000 guy got this education to have a financial benefit to get more money than the $50,000 guy. So now he gets hit harder because of it. And that's a social responsibility?
Yeah.
Why is it his responsibility? Because he went out and bettered himself. Why is it okay for him to be taxed more than the guy at $50,000. Well, let's say the 10% rate is at the $50K and it's at the $300,000 job, right? Does it matter what the guy makes? Shouldn't it be a percentage? Isn't percentage fair versus sliding rule income?
Yeah. Say that again.
The guy who makes $300,000 a year, 10%. Now, the guy who makes $50,000 a year, 10%. So the percentage keeps it even, but you're saying that the guy who had $300,000 spend more because he makes more. By sheer math, 10% of 300 is more than 10% at 50,000, but
yeah,
should it be 12% for the rich guy? And rich, of course, is a fictitious number, a fictitious name. Wealth and prosperity is you look at it different from different points of view. So if you're making $1 million, $300,000 a year, he's the poor guy. But if you're $50,000 a year, he's the rich guy. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. But you still think that the guy who makes $300,000 is now at the 12% tax bracket, and the guy who makes 50 is at the 8% bracket, and the $300,000 guy should pay more.
I think that percentage is probably a more fair.
Okay, so you're not for redistribution of wealth.
Yeah, I suppose when you put it that way,
well,
I guess.
There's only one way, and it's all about numbers. There's no magic here. There's no coincidence. It's all about numbers. Yeah. So, now let's say, for instance, 10% of $300,000 is how much? $30,000?
Yes.
$30K worth of your inventory, your dollars, your money that you work for, that you struggled for, has to go to someone who sits on their ass, when you could use that money to pay down your school loans.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
No.
It is not fair at all. I agree with you on that. Let's recap this back to the total episode, what we talked about. The rich guys shouldn't pay for the guys who don't want to do nothing, because then those are the guys who went out and spent their time, money, and dollars, and their effort to have a financial advantage over the people who didn't want to get off their ass. See, the problem about social assistance and programs like that is they're getting paid to do nothing, while the guys who go out and work for it, or who have a financial advantage, now are getting taxed for the guys who don't. That's not a reward. That's a penalty for the guy who's paying the bills. But the guy who sits on his ass, that's a reward. So I can get rewarded by not working.
Yeah, which is something that I am not in favor of.
You never were, and you were never that type of person.
No. And actually, I worked through this whole pandemic.
So that's right.
It would have been nice to have a little bit of a furlough, I'll be honest. 1 week.
And no doubt, if someone offered you something, the human response would be to take it. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes. And no one would fault you for taking a situation where could help you in the long run, because that's just common human nature. But to believe in that, like some people do, that we tax the rich heavier because they've got it. The premise itself is completely wrong for what the social economic value of the person who worked for it was. His job is, I'll work harder, and I'll risk more, and I'll gain more.
Yeah.
So to recap that, your initial response to the first one was maybe you weren't quite sure what was being said here.
Yeah, I think more about, like, when I think about it, I think more about, like, the unfortunate, the children, the people that don't really have a say about it. When I think about it as, like, the person who's an adult, fully able, but doesn't, it's a different thought process. So at first when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the child, the one who didn't have the say, the one who didn't have a choice in the matter. Like, of course, they should be able to have, they should be able to have a little bit more. Like, it's not their fault, like,
Mm-hmm.
They should be able to have that. But ultimately, that's not where the money goes, right? It goes to the adults that are in power.
Well, sure.
The ones that are the keepers of the children or whatever.
Sure, the ones who created them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so obviously two different. But yes, like the perfectly capable, don't want to or don't want, but are able to. Different thought process.
Sure.
When it comes to that.
But you, as that generation behind us, have to understand that when you work for something, it's yours. It's not someone else's to take or to distribute to somebody else. That's yours.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you. These individuals that need a help, a hand, a guidance, a piece of something to help them get through, you bet all day long. But when they turn that into a job, when they vote for a living instead of work for a living, therefore the system is failed.
Yeah.
So you, out of all the people I know, and respect the fact that you went through all this, and I'm very proud of you, should know that you've worked harder than some people will sit on their ass and not work harder. And when you had that first initial response, I was like, maybe we need to clarify what the rules of engagement here are.
Yeah.
Well,
my discussion was more about, how much tuition costs in comparison to what kind of annual salary.
Agreed.
You're going to get.
And that's a comment about what is your money worth? What did you get for your money when you paid for that? That's not a discussion of redistribution.
Yeah.
So we should cover this, what did you get for your money's worth, in a different episode.
Yeah.
Which you then could compile all your information, all your notes, and say, here's what I was promised, here's what I did, here's what I was said. Now my debt to income ratio has changed dramatically because of what they said in the system, this same system that says we're going to help you borrow as much as you can, and we're going to let you burn that any way you want to, but don't forget, eventually someday you'll pay that back. And that's okay if that's what you chose. But we did not choose that. The people who make the extra money, who are paying, whether it's the $50,000 a year guy or the $300,000 a year guy, the tax rate should not pay for stuff that anybody in the world has set up and decided they wanted to make this their life's work. They want to be a nurse, they want to be a fire guy, they want to be a surgeon, whatever their path was. If you offer those guys forgiveness on the student loan, everyone before
Somebody
that
has to pay for it.
Everybody before that gets cheated.
Yeah.
Everybody after that is going to say, why would I pay into this? I want the free schooling.
Yeah.
So now at this stage in my life, if this is going to happen, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to become a brain surgeon because it's on the government dole, which the government is me and you. I'll pay 1/1,000,000th of it in a price where the rest of the society will pay the rest of it, and I'll win. Yeah. So this is basic economics. I think we have the same agenda. We see it the same way because both of us are workers. Both of us have earned our way, not deserves our way through life, and that's a big difference. Deserves means it's entitlement. Earned means you worked for it.
Yeah.
Okay. In the next episode, we should have a conversation about what did you get for your dollar's worth.
Yeah.
So just for your information, I wasn't recording this, but I grabbed the recorder and I flipped it on. You sounded awesome. Would you like this to be aired?
Sure.
Because of all the people that I know, I could expect a good solid response from you, which we have. I'll do some editing. And
Okay.
the podcasters will hear this and say, you know, here's a person who's gone through this, who's lived this, who is this, and we shouldn't pay for this.
Yeah.
Not that it's saying if you didn't have it offered to you, you wouldn't take it, because any smart person would. That's an advantage. But an advantage is also, like I said in the podcast, an advantage is taking the time to go to school to get that financial reward that the $50,000 guy will never have.
Yeah.
There's the difference. And society should not foot that bill. We shouldn't do it. Because then everybody's going to go to school. And then you're going to have a whole bunch of completely educated people who want to do nothing but gender studies and flower potting and all this useless crap, spending our money on stuff that's never going to create a better society for us. Me and you, the one paying the bills.
It's just going to keep it constant.
Now you'll have a whole bunch of, that's right, you'll have a whole bunch of smart people being dumb.
Yep.
Instead of dumb people being dumber, and smart people saying, hey, I don't want to be that. And I use dumber as a metaphor.
Yeah.
But
there's no change. There's no
separation.
Better.
There's no separation. Yeah. That's right. Without poor, you can't have rich. Without smart, you can't have dumb. You have to have an antonym there. You spent the time. You spent the dollars. You've earned that. The rest of us shouldn't pay for it. That's why you make the big bucks. Or in the next episode, why you should make the big bucks. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we could sit down and have this conversation. Again, I'm recording this, and it's coming through quite cool through the phone and then the second cell phone area.
Yeah, you're figuring it out, huh?
Well, we'll find out. I mean, I've got a lot of listeners throughout the country. I've got a lot of listeners throughout the globe.
That's pretty cool.
Like I said, I have not hit Japan yet, but I suspect I'll see some pretty soon. But I don't know how to convert this to Japanese. But here we are. Okay, so I'm going to hit the stop button on my computer recording. Is there anything you want to add before I stop recording?
No, thank you.
Okay, stand by. And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Hutcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site or on the website that's just about ready to roll. Hopefully by the first of the next year, we'll have this thing up and running where you can get all the backstory and some of the research we did provided these podcasts /IE Hutcast. Again, for Hutcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.